Captain Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of Earth's orbital station, watching 12 alien ships position themselves around his planet. The vessels were massive, each one larger than any city on Earth. Their dark metal hulls gleamed, with strange symbols that seemed to shift and move in the starlight. "They're beautiful," whispered Dr. Lisa Grant standing beside him. Her voice carried a mix of wonder and fear that Jake understood completely. "And terrifying." Jake nodded, keeping his face calm. 3 days ago, these ships had appeared without warning. No communication, no threats, just silent arrival. Then yesterday, one smaller ship had landed in New York Central Park. The being that stepped out called itself Ambassador Zixathara and delivered a message that changed everything. "Submit or die," Jake muttered, remembering the alien's words. The translation devices had made the crystalline creature's voice sound like breaking glass. "Join our hegemony, or be destroyed like the others." Admiral Ben Carter's image appeared on the communication screen behind them. His weathered face looked tired but determined. "Jake, Lisa, get down here. Emergency meeting in 10 minutes. The elevator ride to the command center felt longer than usual. Jake watched Earth turning slowly below them through the glass walls. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents. Home. The only home humanity had ever known. Soon it might belong to someone else. The command center buzzed with activity. Officers moved between stations, their faces tense. Admiral Carter waited at the central table with other Earth Defense Council members. The holographic display showed the alien fleet's positions. "Report," Carter said as Jake and Lisa approached. "All 12 ships maintain their positions," Jake replied. "No movement, no additional communications. They're just watching us. Like cats watching mice," muttered General Kate Phillips from across the table. Ambassador Zixathara materialized in the room's center, its crystalline body catching the light. The alien stood 8 feet tall, its transparent skin revealing moving patterns of light beneath. When it spoke, the translator made its voice echo strangely. "Have your leaders decided, humans?" Admiral Carter stepped forward. "We need more time to consider your offer." "Offer?" The alien's internal lights pulsed faster. "This is not negotiation. The hegemony has conquered 1,000 worlds, 17. Species have been removed completely for refusing our guidance. You have one more day." The hologram disappeared, leaving silence in the room. Jake felt the weight of that number. 17 species. Gone. Extinct. Erased from existence for saying no to these beings. "Admiral," Dr. Grant spoke carefully, "I've been studying their biological data. Their technology is clearly advanced, but they're not invincible. Their energy signatures show patterns, weaknesses we might exploit." Carter's eyes sharpened. "Continue." "Their ships use a crystal-based power system. Very efficient, but it creates specific resonance frequencies. If we could match those frequencies, we could disrupt their systems," finished Professor Charles Kim, entering the room with data tablets in his hands. "I've been running calculations since they arrived. Their shields operate on quantum crystalline matrices. Fascinating technology, but predictable once you understand the pattern." Jake watched the exchange with growing understanding. These people weren't planning surrender. They were planning something else entirely. Admiral Carter looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. "Protocol Mongoose is now active. Everyone here is now part of the most classified project in human history. Dr. Grant, I need you to work with their diplomats. Appear cooperative. Learn everything you can about their society, their military, their weaknesses. Jake, your monitoring station is perfectly positioned. Start recording everything. Ship movements, communication patterns, energy signatures. Make it look like routine operations. Professor Kim, begin reverse engineering whatever technology samples we can obtain. Quietly." The Admiral paused, looking out at Earth through the viewport. "Gentlemen, ladies, as of today, humanity is at war, but our enemy doesn't know it yet." Over the next week, Earth transformed. On the surface, everything looked normal. The hegemony established monitoring posts in major cities. Their crystal-skinned overseers walked among humans, studying them. like specimens. News broadcasts showed world leaders signing cooperation agreements with the aliens. But beneath the surface, something else was happening. Jake's team worked in 12-hour shifts, recording every detail about the alien fleet. They cataloged ship types, patrol routes, communication frequencies. The data went to hidden facilities scattered across Earth's continents. Dr. Grant attended diplomatic meetings with Ambassador Zixthera and other hegemony representatives. She smiled, nodded, and asked innocent questions about their culture and history. Each answer revealed more about their military structure and past conquests. The aliens spoke freely around her, treating humans as harmless primitives. They discussed their plans for Earth's resources, the relocation of human populations, the establishment of mining operations. They talked about previous conquered worlds like items in a catalog. The Zephyrians fought us for 6 months, one alien told another. During a dinner meeting, useless resistance, we turned their homeworld into a factory complex. The Crystalline Collective lasted 3 years, replied its companion. They actually managed to destroy 2 of our ships before we eliminated them. These humans will not even try to fight. Lisa smiled politely and continued eating, memorizing every word. Meanwhile, in hidden laboratories, Professor Kim's team studied fragments of alien technology obtained through accidental damage to their equipment. Human maintenance crews, appearing clumsy and apologetic, collected pieces of broken alien devices. Each fragment revealed secrets. The aliens used living crystals as computer processors. Their weapons fired concentrated plasma through crystalline focusing arrays. Their ship's armor was nearly impenetrable from outside, but the internal structure had specific vulnerable points. Admiral Carter met secretly with leaders from every nation. Old enemies became allies overnight. Resources flowed to hidden projects. Factories began producing equipment that looked like civilian construction tools, but served different purposes. The aliens noticed none of it. To them, humans were just another primitive species accepting inevitable defeat. They had seen it 17 times before. On Jake's monitoring station, Lieutenant Danny Walsh reported his findings. "Sir, I've identified their command ship. It's the largest vessel, positioned directly above North America. All communications route through it. Their weakness," Jake realized. Cut the head off the snake. Dr. Grant returned from another diplomatic session with new intelligence. They're planning to begin large-scale operations in 6 months. Resource extraction, population relocation, industrial development. They want to turn Earth into a factory world. Admiral Carter nodded grimly. Then we have 6 months to prepare. 6 months to show them that underestimating humanity was the biggest mistake in their 1,000-year history. Outside, the alien ships continued their silent watch over Earth. Inside those ships, beings of crystal and light planned the subjugation of another primitive species. But down on the blue planet below, humanity was planning something very different. 6 months had passed since the hegemony's arrival, and Earth looked like a conquered world. Alien overseers walked through human cities, their crystalline forms glinting in the sunlight. Mining operations scarred the landscape of Mars while transport ships carried resources to the alien fleet above. Commander Amy Rodriguez crouched in the shadows of an abandoned subway tunnel beneath Chicago. Her team of 12 humans waited silently around her, their faces painted with mud to avoid detection. Above them, alien sensors swept the area every few minutes, searching for signs of resistance. "All clear," whispered Sergeant Pete Johnson, monitoring the scanner readings. "Next sweep in 4 minutes." Amy nodded and activated her communicator. The device looked like a standard human tablet, but Professor Kim's team had modified it to use quantum frequencies the aliens couldn't detect. "Base, this is Rabbit Team. Package delivered to Location 7. The voice that answered belonged to Admiral Carter, speaking from a command center hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains. "Confirmed, Rabbit Team. Return to Safe House 3. Ghost." "Team reports similar success in Berlin." Amy smiled in the darkness. Package delivered meant another alien monitoring station had been quietly sabotaged. Not destroyed, which would draw attention, but damaged in ways that looked like equipment failure. Over the past month, 17 hegemony installations had suffered mysterious malfunctions. The aliens blamed poor human maintenance and increased their oversight. They never suspected deliberate sabotage. Meanwhile, in a laboratory built inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter, Dr. Lisa Grant studied captured alien technology. The facility officially didn't exist. On all records, it was listed as a mining operation run by the Titan Corporation. "Fascinating," she murmured, examining a crystalline processor core under an electron microscope. "Their entire computational system is based on living crystal matrices. But look at this." Her assistant, Dr. Ryan Mitchell, leaned over the display. "What am I looking at?" "Quantum resonance patterns. See how the crystal structures vibrate at specific frequencies? If we could generate an opposing frequency, we could disrupt their entire system," Ryan finished, understanding immediately. "Like shattering glass with the right sound wave." Lisa nodded excitedly. "Exactly, and there's more. I've analyzed biological samples from different hegemony species. Each race has unique physiological markers, specific vulnerabilities." She brought up another display showing alien DNA structures. "The Veltar rely on crystalline implants for basic body functions. The Zephyrians have a weakness to certain electromagnetic frequencies. The gorilloid species cannot process specific amino acids." "Biological warfare," Ryan said quietly. "Targeted biological responses," Lisa corrected. "Each species has evolved differently. What's harmless to humans could be lethal to them." Far above them, Captain Jake Morrison continued his seemingly routine monitoring of the alien fleet. His orbital station had become the eyes and ears of the Resistance, recording every detail about hegemony operations. "New data coming in," reported Lieutenant Danny Walsh from his console. "The alien command ship just received a massive communication burst from outside the solar system." Jake moved to Danny's station. "Can you decode it?" "Partially. The translation software Professor Kim developed is getting better. It looks like status reports from other conquered systems." Danny's face grew grim. "Jake, they're planning something big. Multiple references to Phase 2 implementation and subject species relocation." Jake's blood ran cold. They had suspected the hegemony plan to move humans off Earth, but seeing it in official communications made it real. "Send this to Admiral Carter immediately. Priority 1. In the hidden command center, Admiral Carter studied the intercepted messages with growing alarm. General Kate Phillips stood beside him, her face pale. "Relocation begins in 3 months," Carter read aloud. 50% of Earth's population to be transported to labor facilities in the Vega system. Remaining population to maintain essential services under direct supervision. "They're splitting us up," Phillips realized. "Separating us so we can't organize resistance." Carter nodded grimly. "Time to accelerate our timeline. Activate Phase 2 of Protocol Mongoose." Across the solar system, hidden facilities burst into activity. In the Kuiper Belt, shipyards that looked like ice mining operations began final assembly of humanity's secret fleet. Sleek black vessels invisible to alien sensors took shape in zero gravity. Each ship incorporated technology reverse-engineered from hegemony equipment, but improved by human innovation. They were smaller than alien vessels, but faster and more maneuverable. More importantly, they were designed specifically to exploit every weakness the Resistance had discovered. General Phillips commanded this hidden fleet from a mobile command ship disguised as an asteroid. "Status report," she called, to her bridge crew. 47 vessels operational," reported Captain Steve Barnes, her tactical officer. "Weapons systems online, all ships equipped with quantum resonance disruptors and biological warfare delivery systems. Crew training? Completed. Every pilot, gunner, and engineer has studied alien tactical patterns. We know their ships better than they do." Phillips smiled coldly. The aliens thought humans were primitive. They were about to learn how wrong they were. On Mars, the red planet's surface crawled with mining equipment and alien supervisors. Human workers, apparently resigned to their fate, operated massive drilling machines under crystallized oversight. But in the worker dormitories at night, quiet conversations took place. Maps were drawn in the dust and quickly erased. Hand signals were practiced until they became second nature. Captain Steve Barnes, officially just another mining engineer, met with his cell leaders in an abandoned lava tube. "Phase 2 is active," he whispered. "Begin equipment redistribution tomorrow. Make it look like routine maintenance." The routine maintenance involved secretly modifying mining equipment into weapons. Drilling lasers could be recalibrated to penetrate alien armor. Construction explosives could become ship killers. Transport vehicles could be converted into assault craft. The aliens, confident in their superiority, never checked the modifications. They saw sullen human workers going through the motions of labor. They missed the rebellion growing beneath their feet. Back on Earth, Dr. Grant prepared for the most important diplomatic meeting of her life. Ambassador Zixathera had requested a formal presentation about human cooperation with hegemony policies. She stood before the Alien Leadership Council in what had once been the United Nations building. 12 different species regarded her with various forms of alien curiosity. To them, she was just another primitive native giving a required progress report. "Honored members of the hegemony," she began, her voice carefully modest. "Humanity is grateful for your guidance in our development." The lies came easily now. She spoke of human compliance, of their eagerness to serve the greater galactic community. She presented fabricated data showing increased productivity and decreased resistance activity. The aliens listened with the bored attention of conquerors hearing from yet another conquered species. They asked few questions, already certain of their complete control over humanity. "The relocation program will benefit both our species," Ambassador Zixathara finally said. "Humans will learn proper civilization on our industrial worlds. Earth will become a more efficient resource extraction facility." "We understand," Lisa replied humbly. "We are honored to serve." As she left the building, she activated her hidden communicator. "Admiral, they're definitely moving forward with relocation. Timeline confirmed, 3 months. Carter's voice was steady despite the circumstances. "Understood. All units, Phase 3 preparation begins immediately." That night, across Earth and throughout the solar system, the Resistance prepared for the next stage of their plan. Hidden weapons were moved into position. Secret communication networks activated. Strike teams reviewed their targets one final time. The aliens slept peacefully in their orbital stations, confident that their latest conquest was proceeding smoothly. They had subjugated 1,000 worlds with the same pattern. Overwhelming force, followed by gradual integration, followed by complete control. They had no reason to suspect that humanity might be different, that this species might have learned from their own violent history, that these primitives might understand war better than their conquerors. In 3 months, the hegemony would attempt to relocate half of Earth's population. They expected minimal resistance from broken, dispirited humans. Instead, they would face the full fury of a species that had spent 6 months learning everything about them. A species that had turned patience into a weapon and deception into an art form. The quiet period was ending. Soon the galaxy would learn what happened when humanity decided to fight back. The announcement came at dawn, broadcast simultaneously to every human settlement on Earth and Mars. Ambassador Zixathera's crystalline form appeared on screens worldwide, its internal lights pulsing with what humans had learned indicated satisfaction. "Citizens of Earth," the alien's translated voice echoed through empty streets. "The Hegemony Council has approved the next phase of your integration. Beginning in 72 hours, the first transport ships will arrive to relocate selected populations to more suitable worlds." Jake Morrison watched the broadcast from his monitoring station, his knuckles white as he gripped the console. Around him, his crew maintained their professional composure, but he could see the anger in their eyes. "Suitable worlds," muttered Sergeant Pete Johnson. "They mean slave camps." The broadcast continued with cheerful descriptions of the opportunities waiting for humans in distant star systems, work facilities, educational centers, cultural integration programs. The lies sounded convincing if you didn't know what had happened to 17 other species. "All communications are being monitored. Jake reminded his team quietly. Standard responses only, but privately, he activated the quantum communicator hidden in his personal quarters. Admiral, this is Jake. The storm is here. Admiral Carter's voice came back immediately. Confirmed. All units. Protocol Mongoose Phase 3 is now active. Repeat, Phase 3 is active. Across the solar system, those words triggered the most carefully planned military operation in human history. In the asteroid belt, General Kate Phillips stood on the bridge of her flagship, the stealth cruiser Liberty. Around her, 46 other vessels powered up their engines and weapon systems. Each ship was crewed by volunteers who understood they might not see Earth again. All ships report ready, General, Captain Steve Barnes announced from his position at the tactical station. Phillips nodded, studying the holographic display showing hegemony positions throughout the system. Target Package Alpha is the command ship above Earth. Package Beta is the transport fleet approaching from Jupiter. Package Gamma is the Mars orbital facilities. She paused, looking at the faces around her. These people had spent 18 months preparing for this moment. They had studied alien tactics, memorized enemy ship specifications, and trained until they could fight in their sleep. Remember, we need to look like equipment malfunctions and accidents until the main operation begins. The aliens still think we're primitive. Let's keep them thinking that for as long as possible. The fleet dispersed, each ship following carefully planned routes that would keep them hidden from alien sensors. Meanwhile, on Earth, Commander Amy Rodriguez received the activation signal while hiding in an abandoned factory outside Detroit. Her resistance cell, now grown to over 300 fighters, began the final preparation phase. Status report, she called quietly to her section leaders. Chicago cell confirms ready, reported Maria Santos. 240 fighters, all equipped with modified mining tools and improvised weapons. New York cell standing by, added Carl Thompson. They've identified 17 priority targets in the metropolitan area. Amy nodded, checking her chronometer. In exactly 6 hours, when the transport ships entered Earth's atmosphere, humanity would reveal its true nature. Until then, they had to maintain the illusion of helpless compliance. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Lisa Grant put the finishing touches on humanity's most terrible weapon. The underwater laboratory, built inside a decommissioned submarine, had become a biological warfare facility over the past 6 months. Final test complete, Dr. Ryan Mitchell announced from his workstation. All 12 target-specific pathogens are stable and ready for deployment. Lisa studied the sealed containers arranged before her. Each one contained an engineered virus designed to attack one specific hegemony species, harmless to humans and other aliens, but lethal to their intended targets. The delivery system is ready? She asked. Atmospheric dispersal through their own air recycling systems. We hacked their environmental controls months ago. They'll never see it coming. Lisa felt a moment of guilt. She was a scientist, trained to heal and help, not to create weapons of mass destruction. But then she remembered the 17 extinct species, the billion humans about to be shipped off to slave camps, and her resolve hardened. Upload the deployment codes to all resistant cells. Begin dispersal in 5 hours, 57 minutes. On Mars, the red planet had become a powder keg waiting to explode. Thousands of human workers continued their mining operations under alien supervision, but every piece of equipment had been secretly modified. Captain Steve Barnes, still playing. His role as a mining engineer walked among the massive drilling machines. To alien observers, he was conducting routine maintenance. In reality, he was arming weapons. Laser Array 7 is ready, whispered Jenny Walsh as she pretended to calibrate a mining laser. Full power focused beam. It'll cut through their armor like paper. Transport Bay 4 has been converted, added Mike Chen, checking a cargo hauler that now carried enough explosives to destroy a city block. All vehicles are armed and ready. Barnes nodded, speaking into his communicator with the tone of a board supervisor. All equipment checks complete. Beginning shift change procedures. The shift change was actually the signal for every human on Mars to take their assigned positions. In mining tunnels, loading bays, and processing facilities, workers moved to strategic locations. The aliens, comfortable in their routine, noticed nothing unusual. Above Mars orbit, the hegemony transport fleet approached their first stop. 50 massive ships, each capable of carrying 10,000 humans, prepared to begin the relocation operation. Admiral Kethvalar of the dominant Xerian species stood on his flagship's bridge, reviewing cargo manifests. To him, humans were just another resource to be harvested and redistributed. "Begin landing operations," he commanded. "Priority targets are the northern industrial centers. We need skilled workers for the Vega facilities." His crew moved efficiently to carry out the orders. They had done this hundreds of times before with dozens of species. The routine was always the same: overwhelming force, swift action, minimal resistance. They had no way of knowing that this routine was about to be shattered forever. Back on Jake's monitoring station, Lieutenant Danny Walsh tracked the approaching transport fleet with growing tension. 60 minutes until they reach atmospheric entry, he reported. Jake opened a channel to Earth's surface. "All stations, this is Orbital Command. Routine atmospheric monitoring shows normal conditions. No unusual activity detected." The coded message meant everything was proceeding according to plan. Across Earth, resistance cells made their final preparations. In hidden bunkers, weapons were distributed. In communication centers, alien monitoring systems were quietly isolated. In major cities, evacuation routes were cleared for the civilian population that would soon need them. Professor Charles Kim worked frantically in his laboratory, making final adjustments to the quantum resonance disruptors. These devices, when activated simultaneously, would disable every hegemony ship in the solar system. "Calibration complete," he announced to his team. "All units are synchronized and ready for activation." His assistant, Dr. Sarah Johnson, looked nervous. "Are we sure this will work? If we're wrong about their crystal matrix frequencies, then humanity dies," Kim said simply. "But we're not wrong. I've checked the calculations 1,000 times. Their technology is advanced but predictable. When we activate these disruptors, their ships will become floating museums." As the final hour approached, Admiral Carter stood in his hidden command center, surrounded by displays showing human forces throughout the solar system. 18 months of preparation had led to this moment. "All stations report ready," General Phillips announced from her flagship. "Biological warfare systems armed and targeted," Dr. Grant confirmed from her submarine laboratory. "Mars Liberation Force in position," Captain Barnes reported from the Red Planet. "Earth resistance cells standing by," Commander Rodriguez added. From her factory hideout, Carter looked at the chronometer. 58 minutes until the transport ships reached Earth's atmosphere. 58 minutes until humanity stopped pretending to be helpless. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said into his communicator, broadcasting to every human fighter in the solar system, "for 18 months, we have endured occupation, humiliation, and the constant threat of extinction. We have watched our world be stripped of resources and prepared for the slavery of our people." He paused, thinking of the 17 species that had fought and died before them. "Today we show the galaxy that humanity will not go quietly into the night. Today, we demonstrate that underestimating the human spirit was the hegemony's greatest mistake. Today we teach the universe that some species cannot be conquered." The countdown continued, 57 minutes and falling. Above Earth, the alien fleet maintained their positions, confident in their superiority. Below them, 7 billion humans prepared to prove them wrong. The first transport ship entered Earth's atmosphere exactly on schedule. The massive vessel, nearly 2 miles long, descended through the clouds above New York City like a metal mountain falling from space. Its shadow covered Manhattan as landing. Thrusters ignited, preparing to touch down in Central Park. Admiral Kethvalar watched from his command ship, satisfied with the precision of his fleet. "Begin cargo collection procedures," he ordered. "Priority Alpha subjects first." He had no idea that his ship's environmental systems had been compromised months ago. In the depths of his vessel, microscopic dispensers released Dr. Grant's biological weapon into the air recycling network. The pathogen was invisible, odorless, and specifically engineered for Xerion physiology. Within hours, every member of his species aboard the ship would begin experiencing system failures in their crystalline organs. Within days, they would be dead, but the Admiral wouldn't live to see days pass. On Jake's monitoring station, the countdown reached 0. "All units," he broadcast, "Operation Mongoose is now active. I repeat, Mongoose is active." Those words triggered 18 months of careful planning. Professor Kim's quantum resonance disruptors activated simultaneously across the solar system. The devices, hidden in everything from communication relays to mining equipment, sent perfectly calibrated frequency waves toward every hegemony vessel. The effect was immediate and devastating. Aboard Admiral Kethvalar's flagship, control panels began sparking and failing. The crystalline computer cores that ran everything from life support to weapon systems started vibrating at their resonant frequency. Like wine glasses shattering from a soprano's high note, the alien technology began tearing itself apart. "What is happening?" Kethvalar demanded as his bridge plunged into darkness. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across his crew's panicked faces. "All systems failing," his tactical officer reported, his voice tight with fear. "Propulsion offline, weapons offline, communications offline. The crystal matrices are fragmenting." Similar chaos erupted throughout the hegemony fleet. 50 transport ships suddenly found themselves powerless, drifting helplessly in space. The orbital command stations went dark. The mining facilities on Mars lost all power, but the humans were just getting started. General Phillips watched from her flagship as the alien vessels became sitting targets. "All ships, this is Liberty Command. Engage at will." The human fleet, invisible to alien sensors and immune to the resonance disruption, emerged from hiding like sharks smelling blood. Sleek black warships materialized around the crippled transport vessels. Captain Steve Barnes, commanding the destroyer Hope, targeted the nearest alien transport. "Fire," he ordered calmly. Modified mining lasers, now focused into ship killing. Weapons carved through the transport's hull like a hot knife through butter. The massive vessel, designed to carry thousands of human prisoners, exploded in a brilliant fireball that lit up Earth's night sky. "Target destroyed," Barnes reported with grim satisfaction. Moving to next vessel. Across the solar system, similar scenes played out. Human ships built in secret and armed with weapons reverse-engineered from alien technology systematically destroyed the hegemony fleet. On Mars, the red planet erupted in coordinated violence. Captain Steve Barnes, the mining engineer who had spent months preparing this moment, activated his communicator. "All crews, begin liberation protocol." Thousands of human workers, no longer pretending to be docile laborers, turned their modified equipment on their alien overseers. Mining lasers that had drilled through rock now burned through crystalline armor. Construction explosives, intended for clearing obstacles, destroyed alien facilities. The aliens, weakened by biological weapons and cut off from their ships by the resonance disruption, found themselves facing an enemy they had never imagined. These primitive humans fought with the fury of a species that had nothing left to lose. Engineer Mike Chen led his team against the main alien command complex. The modified cargo haulers, now armed with enough explosives to level city blocks, smashed through the facility's defenses. "For the 17 extinct species," Chen shouted as his team planted charges throughout the complex. "For humanity." The explosion could be seen from orbit. On Earth, Commander Amy Rodriguez emerged from the shadows with her resistance fighters. The aliens, their technology failing and their communications cut, suddenly found themselves surrounded by humans who were no longer afraid. "Remember," Amy told her troops, "disable their equipment, capture their personnel if possible. We need information about their other fleets." The resistance had learned patience during 18 months of occupation. Now they applied that same methodical approach to warfare. Alien monitoring stations were seized with minimal casualties. Hegemony personnel, confused and frightened by their technology's sudden failure, surrendered without significant resistance. Chicago. Maria Santos led her cell against a major alien communication hub. They found the crystalline operators collapsed at their stations. victims of the biological weapon that was now spreading through their ship's atmosphere. "Secure all data systems," Santos ordered. "Intelligence wants everything we can get." The pattern repeated across Earth. Alien facilities fell one by one to human forces who seemed to appear from nowhere. The hegemony's overwhelming technological advantage had vanished overnight, leaving them vulnerable to an enemy they had never bothered to understand. Dr. Grant monitored the biological weapon's progress from her submarine laboratory. The pathogen was working exactly as designed, targeting specific alien species while leaving humans unharmed. "Xerion casualties at 90%, Dr. Mitchell reported. Veltar forces showing severe system degradation. Zephyrian units are experiencing complete neurological shutdown." Lisa felt sick watching the displays, but she forced herself to remember why this was necessary. "Any signs of adaptation or immunity?" "None detected. The pathogens are performing as predicted." Meanwhile, in space, the human fleet continued its systematic destruction of hegemony vessels. General Phillips coordinated the attack from her flagship, watching as transport ship after transport ship was reduced to debris. "Priority targets eliminated," Captain Barnes reported from the destroyer Hope. "Moving to engage command vessels." The alien command ships, larger and more heavily armored than the transports, still fell to human weapons. Months of studying hegemony, technology had revealed exactly where to strike for maximum effect. Jake Morrison watched the battle from his monitoring station, hardly believing what he was seeing. The mighty hegemony fleet, which had seemed invincible 18 months ago, was being systematically destroyed by human forces. "Orbital command to all units," he broadcast. "Enemy command ship is attempting to retreat. Do not let it escape." The hegemony flagship, Admiral Kethvalar's massive vessel, was trying to limp away from Earth on emergency power. But General Phillips had anticipated this. "This is Liberty Command to all ships. Converge on the command vessel. No survivors." 6 human warships surrounded the alien flagship, their weapons charged and ready. Admiral Kethvalar, dying from the biological weapon, coursing through his ship's atmosphere, made one final transmission. "How?" he gasped, his crystalline form flickering with failing internal light. "You are primitives. You have no technology, no military tradition, no—" His transmission cut off as human weapons reduced his ship to cosmic dust. The battle for the solar system was over in less than 6 hours. 51 alien vessels destroyed, their crews dead or captured. Not a single human ship had been lost. But Jake Morrison knew this was only the beginning. The hegemony controlled thousands of worlds and commanded fleets that numbered in the millions. They would not ignore the destruction of their Earth expedition. "Admiral," he reported to Carter, "immediate objectives achieved. All enemy forces in the system eliminated." "Excellent work," Carter replied. "Phase 4 begins immediately. All units prepare for the hegemony's response." Across human space, the celebration was brief. They had won the first battle, but the war was just beginning. Dr. Grant sealed samples of the biological weapons for future use. General Phillips regrouped her fleet and began planning defensive positions. Commander Rodriguez organized her resistance cells into a proper military force. The galaxy had just learned that humanity was not the helpless species the hegemony had believed. But now the real test would begin. When the full might of the Galactic Empire turned its attention to the small blue planet that had just humiliated them, would humanity's cleverness and determination be enough to survive? Jake Morrison stood at his observation window, looking out at the debris field that had once been the hegemony fleet. Among the wreckage, he could see the transport ships that would have carried his friends and family to slavery on distant worlds. "We won this round," he said quietly to himself. "But they'll be back, and next time they won't underestimate us." The silence of space stretched around him, beautiful and terrible. Somewhere out there, the hegemony was learning about their defeat. Soon, very soon, they would come seeking revenge. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Now they would have to prove they deserved to survive what came next. 3 months after the silent strike, the hegemony's revenge fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral Zexathul commanded a force of 300 warships, the largest armada ever assembled for a single system's conquest. "Scan for the human fleet," he ordered from his flagship's bridge. His species, the insectoid Threxnari, had dominated space warfare for centuries. They understood only overwhelming force and complete destruction. "Sensors show no vessels in the inner system," his tactical officer reported. "No orbital defenses around Earth, no activity on Mars. The system appears empty." Zexthul's compound eyes glittered with satisfaction. "The humans have fled. Cowards like all primitive species. Begin bombardment of the third planet. Reduce it to molten rock." But as his fleet moved inward, they passed through a carefully prepared trap. The entire human population of Earth had indeed been evacuated, but not in retreat. Over the past 3 months, every man, woman, and child had been relocated to hidden colonies throughout the outer system. Earth itself had been transformed into something unprecedented in galactic history. Admiral Carter stood in the command center of New Geneva, humanity's new capital built inside a hollowed-out asteroid beyond Pluto's orbit. Around him, displays showed the alien fleet approaching their empty homeworld. "They're taking the bait," reported Jake Morrison from his new monitoring station. "All 300 ships are moving toward Earth." "Good," Carter replied calmly. "Dr. Grant, is the planet ready?" Lisa Grant, now humanity's chief military scientist, checked her readings one final time. "All systems are green, Admiral. Earth's core destabilization is complete and stable. We can trigger the cascade at any time." What the approaching aliens didn't know was that Earth was no longer a planet. It was a weapon. For 3 months, human engineers had worked to destabilize their homeworld's core using captured alien technology. The process was delicate and dangerous, requiring precise placement of quantum resonance generators throughout the planet's interior. The result was a trap on a planetary scale. When triggered, the destabilization would cause Earth's sun to unleash a massive solar flare directed by the planet's modified magnetic field. Any ships within the inner system would be incinerated instantly. It was the ultimate sacrifice. Humanity was willing to destroy its birth world to eliminate the threat of the hegemony forever. Admiral Zexthul's fleet reached Earth's orbit, finding empty cities and abandoned facilities. The alien commander was puzzled but not alarmed. He had seen this before with other species that attempted to flee rather than fight. "Begin surface bombardment," he commanded. "Sterilize the planet. We will find the humans eventually." The first salvo of plasma bolts struck Earth's surface, turning cities to glass and carving canyons across continents. From his distant command post, Admiral Carter watched his homeworld die and felt no regret. This destruction would save billions of human lives across the galaxy. "All ships in position?" he asked General Phillips, whose hidden fleet waited in the outer system. "Confirmed. Every vessel is ready for the final phase." Carter nodded, looking at the faces around him. These people had already given up their homeworld for victory. Now they were about to give up their sun. "Dr. Grant, initiate the cascade." Lisa's finger hesitated over the control for just a moment. Once she pressed it, Earth would be gone forever. The blue world that had given birth to humanity would become a memory. But that sacrifice would eliminate the hegemony's ability to threaten other species ever again. She pressed the button. Deep within Earth's core, quantum resonance generators activated simultaneously. The careful balance that had held the planet's interior stable for billions of years suddenly shifted. Massive gravitational waves rippled outward, striking the sun with precise timing and frequency. The star responded, exactly as human calculations had predicted. Sol erupted in the largest solar flare in its 4 billion-year history. The burst of radiation and plasma, guided by Earth's modified magnetic field, lanced outward in a directed beam toward the inner system. Admiral Zexthul had exactly 12 seconds to understand what was happening before his entire fleet was vaporized. The solar flare, carrying the energy output of 10,000 hydrogen bombs, washed over the alien armada like a wave of pure destruction. Shields designed to stop conventional weapons offered no protection against the star's fury. 300 warships, each capable of destroying worlds, were reduced to component atoms in an instant. The flare continued past the fleet, striking Earth itself and completing the planet's destruction. The world that had birthed humanity disappeared in a flash of stellar fire, taking with it the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. In the aftermath, silence filled the solar system. Where Earth had orbited for billions of years, only an expanding cloud of superheated gas remained. The hegemony's revenge fleet existed now only as scattered particles drifting in space. Admiral Carter broke the silence first. Status report from all stations. No alien survivors detected, Jake Morrison reported from his sensors. The solar flare eliminated everything in the inner system. Our forces? All ships accounted for and undamaged. The outer colonies are safe. Carter nodded, feeling the weight of what they had accomplished. Humanity had just destroyed the largest military force in galactic history. More importantly, they had sent a message that would echo across the stars for millennia. But the real victory came 3 weeks later, when Dr. Grant made contact with the survivors of the 17 extinct species. The transmission came from a hidden base in the Andromeda Galaxy, where the last members of destroyed civilizations had been hiding for centuries. Their spokesman was a being called Kethmori, representing the Luminous Collective, the first species the hegemony had supposedly eliminated. People of Earth. Kethmori's translated voice carried wonder and hope. We have monitored your battle with the hegemony. For 1,000 years we have hidden in dark space, waiting for someone to stand against them. You have done what we thought impossible. Lisa Grant, serving as humanity's first galactic ambassador, responded from the communications array at New Geneva. We didn't do it alone. Your species' hidden transmissions helped us understand hegemony tactics. Your survival gave us hope. And now we can all return, Kethmori replied, his alien joy evident even through the translator. The hegemony is broken. Their remaining fleets are scattered and leaderless. The age of conquest is ending. Over the following months, the galaxy transformed. The hegemony's subject worlds declared independence one by one. The 17 extinct species emerged from hiding to reclaim their homeworlds. Dozens of other civilizations, freed from the threat of conquest, began exploring and trading again. Humanity became the center of a new galactic confederation based on cooperation rather than domination. The New Geneva Accords, drafted by Dr. Grant and representatives from 47 species, established principles of mutual defense and technological sharing. Jake Morrison, now serving as Earth Memorial Station Commander, oversaw the construction of humanity's greatest monument. Where Earth had once orbited, a massive space station took shape, built from the combined technologies of all the freed species. The Earth Memorial Station served as both a tribute to humanity's sacrifice and a warning to any future conquerors. Its central chamber contained a holographic recreation of Earth in its prime, surrounded by displays showing the fate of those who underestimated the human spirit. Captain Steve Barnes, promoted to Director of Galactic Security, established monitoring stations throughout known space. Never again would a species be able to secretly eliminate their neighbors. Any signs of aggressive expansion would trigger immediate intervention by the Confederation fleet. Professor Kim, working with alien scientists, developed new technologies that made traditional warfare obsolete. Quantum resonance fields could disable any weapon, while biological synthesizers could provide unlimited resources for any species. But perhaps the most important change was cultural. The galaxy had learned that appearance could be deceiving, that the quiet species might be the most dangerous, and that cooperation was stronger than conquest. Commander Amy Rodriguez, now teaching at the New Geneva Military Academy, often told her students about the lessons of the Hegemony War. They made 3 fatal mistakes, she would explain. First, they assumed that technological superiority meant tactical superiority. Second, they believed that a species' past predicted their future capabilities. Third, they forgot that the most dangerous enemy is the one you don't take seriously. The Academy's motto, carved in stone above its entrance, reflected humanity's hard-won wisdom. Underestimation is the greatest weakness. Years passed, and the galaxy prospered under the new order. Trade routes flourished between species that had once lived in fear. Scientific discoveries accelerated as civilizations shared knowledge freely. Art and culture bloomed as beings learned from each other's perspectives. But humanity never forgot the price of freedom. Every human child learned the story of Earth's sacrifice. They studied the names of the 17 species that had died before humanity found the courage to fight. They remembered that peace required strength, and strength required unity.